up guys, it's Hansol here, and due to high requests, in this video I'll be teaching you how to play Fire Mage in Warlords of Draenor. Now keep in mind, this is still a learning progress for me. There's still a lot for me to learn, practice, and master before I should even feel qualified to teach you guys how to play Fire Mages. But this is just an update on how I've been doing thus far, so you guys can follow my footsteps and my journey on the way to, Gladiator again in Warlords of Draenor. And also, I just want to let you guys know that the Gamers League website is now finally live, so check it out for free guides for all classes and specs by multi-gladiators at gamersleague.com. Alright, so first things first, I want to go over my talents and glyphs real quick. In the first tier, you got Blazing Speed. I've been loving Blazing Speed lately. It's really good for cutting, especially lately, because lately there's been so much melee running around. It's just crazy. Like, melee cleaves are just the meta right now. They just destroy the 3v3 bracket, it seems like, especially Rets, DKs, Ferals, things like that. So it's really good to have Blazing Speed to kite them away, or to use it as a gap closer to get the healers to breath shoot them to start a chain CC to burst your enemies down. In the next tier, I've been using a lot of Ice Ward because, like I said, there's so many melees, so playing Ice Ward on yourself, which novas all enemies around you when you get attacked by a physical, it just roots them all, so it lets you kite even more, and it has 3 stacks, so it's really beneficial lately. I highly recommend it. Alternatively, I like to take a Ring of Frost, especially versus classes like Ferals, because you can't nova them, so it's really good to just ring them instead, or just, set up a nice fat AoE ring to set up AoE CC. Or you can take Frost Jaw, which silences and roots an enemy for 4 seconds. This is something I would take against casters, because Ice Ward novaing them won't activate unless it's a physical melee attack. Next, I like to take Blast Wave. Blast Wave is really amazing. It's probably our best spell as Fire Mage right now. It hits like the most, even harder than Pyroblast. And what it does is it hits the target, and anything around the target gets hit by it as well. And it does so much AoE damage, and it also slows them by 70%. And this has 2 recharge stacks, so you can use it twice in a row if you have them ready. Next up, I like to take Encounter's Flow to set up Fat Bursts with 5 stacks, 20% more spell power. Or alternatively, you can take Mirror Images if you don't like to set up that Fat Burst. Encounter's Flow is more for bursts, and Mirror Images is more for consistent damage when popped. Lastly, so far I've been using both Meteor and Prismatic Crystal pretty evenly. Meteor is a decent damage dealing ability that if you use it, a Meteor drops from the ground 3 seconds later and hits everyone around it, and also puts a dot on the ground as well. So it's not that strong though. But Prismatic Crystal is ridiculous. What it does is you drop a crystal on the ground and it takes 30% increased damage, and anything around the crystal takes equal damage you are doing to the crystal. But unfortunately it does split evenly when there's more targets. So when there's one target alone and you're playing with like a rogue that cheap shots and bombs, you drop the freaking crystal and it just does so much damage, it's ridiculous. Okay, I'm gonna breath shoot priest, okay? Just keep him there. Maybe breath shoot, expect you guys.
I don't like Mage. Sure,
yeah, I haven't done my burst yet, so I have big damage whenever you can keep him in place.
Go right now.
Okay. Oh, please. Okay, man, fuck. Get big down, nice. So much damage, yeah. So much damage, dude. Now I'm going to quickly go over my glyphs. The first one is Glyph of Polymorph, which takes off all dots on the target when you polymorph it, so you can land the full sheep. This is crucial for arenas. Next is Glyph of Regenerative Ice, which regenerates 4% of my health every 1 second for when I sit in Ice Block, which is really good not only for solo PvP but also in arenas if your healer is sitting like CC or something like that. Alternatively, you can take Ice Block Glyph instead of Regen Glyph because you can only have one or the other, it's exclusive. So I like to take Ice Block Glyph versus Caster Cleaves because being immune to spells for 3 seconds when you come out of Ice Block is huge. Or versus Priest comps where they MD your block anyways, you should take Ice Block Glyph. And lastly, this is completely optional, but I'm using Glyph of Frost Firebolt to reduce the cast time on it. But it's not as good anymore because they fixed the bug. So instead of that, you can take Dragon's Breath Glyph for more damage, or remove Curse Glyph for more damage, or Spellseal Glyph for more heals. This is completely up to you. Alright, now we're going to go over the combat rotations. And this is the fun part, but before we get into it, you need to understand the 2-set bonus first for the PvP set. And how it works is every time you cast a Scorch, you get a buff on yourself, which increases the crit chance of Fireball and Frost Firebolt by 15%, and also reduces the cast time of them by 15%, and it stacks up to 3 times. So if you Scorch 3 times, you will get 45% increased crit chance on them, and also 45% reduced cast time. So this is pretty much a guaranteed crit. So what I like to do is Scorch 3 times to get my 3 stacks of Ignition, which is the set bonus. And then you can either Fireball or Frost Firebolt to get a guaranteed crit, and then Infernal Blast to get an instant Pyroblast. And that is the best way to get your procs up at the moment. Keep in mind, while you're casting these 3 Scorches, you might get RNG crits as well, so you don't have to completely rely on the Ignitions. You can just get procs in other ways, but it's really fun to do it like this. Now once you get your Hot Streak proc, the best way to set this up is to add a Meteor into it. But a simple way to just do it is chuck your Pyroblast, and if it crits, you should combust it. How fire works is anytime you do fire abilities to your target, it leaves this 5-second dot called Ignite, which is your mastery on the target. Depending on how hard you hit, it'll actually affect how strong your Ignite is. And what Combustion does, which is your main cooldown for bursting, is it actually takes the Ignite and adds up another dot. It combusts your Ignite. It doesn't consume it, but it just adds another dot. So depending how strong your Ignite is, it affects how strong your Combustion dot is. So the best effective way to do this is to get a fat Ignite with either Pyroblasts or Meteors and then combust it. So probably the best way to do burst with combustion would be to get your Pyro proc and then Dragon's Breath the target and then drop a Meteor so they can't move out of your Meteor. Then chuck the Pyroblast, and right as the Meteor lands you combust it, and then you double Blast Wave after. Meteor and Pyroblast drop an Ignite on your target, but unfortunately Blast Wave doesn't, which is your hardest hitting ability, so it kind of sucks. But yeah, try to line up your Pyroblast and Meteors before you land your Combustion. But Combust is a pretty short cooldown, so you can just use it on Pyros as well. It's just completely up to you. So if you haven't realized already, fire heavily revolves around crit still, just like it was in MoP. So you want to stack that Intellect and crit to hit as hard as you can and burst people down with those Pyro Combust Blast Waves. After crit, you want haste to cast faster, like Polys and Scorches to get procs quicker and land CC quicker, and then mastery last. Mastery is pretty weak because you can just dispel dots anyways, but it would be good to set up fat combust, but combust is fairly weak anyways. You just want to be able to crit as much as possible. Anyways guys, I know this was a very basic guide, but if you want to see more advanced stuff in the near future, make sure to hit the thumbs up on this video to let me know you'd like to see more, and I'll bring more videos your way. Anyways, keep burning shit guys.